And for more on that, I'm now joined from Brussels by Defence Cooperation Analyst Ian Lesser. He's with the Brussels office of the German Marshall Fund of the United States. Ian, what are you hoping to see to emerge from today's G20 meeting on Afghanistan?
Well, I think above all, it's an opportunity to put the issue back on the international agenda. It's there, of course, but there has been a very striking decline in coverage of the situation in Afghanistan. It's really, in many ways, gone out of the headlines. And of course, as that's a political issue for the G20, and I think that's very much behind the Italian presidency's desire to sort of get this back on the international agenda and to put the humanitarian requirements, which are very heavy and likely to be continuing, first.
So many, especially Western governments, say that they want to try and circumvent the Taliban somehow. Is that realistic?
It's very difficult to do. Without some degree of cooperation with the Taliban, it would be very hard and very insecure to do that. I mean, the question of having, Western and other international aid workers back and working in the country, the ability to deliver aid, the logistics for all of this, it's almost impossible to conceive of this without some degree of cooperation with the Taliban. Now, whether the funds and the resources are given directly to them, I think will be a question to be discussed. But it would be very hard to do in isolation without the Taliban's cooperation.
Now, U.S. negotiators at the weekend have returned to face-to-face talks with the Taliban. That's the first since the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. What developments do you see there, and do you think that's the right way to move forward?
Well, I think there's going to be tremendous discomfort with this because of the Taliban's policies inside the country, their extremism, the history of terrorism surrounding the Taliban. So it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. But of course, if the United States, after all of its experience there and all the pain of that experience over 20 years, can talk to the Taliban, well, then surely other members of the G20 will be able to do it. And I think there'll be a lot of interest in doing that simply because it's unavoidable. Not comfortable, but probably unavoidable.
Now, the European Union now says it is also planning direct talks with the Taliban. Are Europe and the US on the same page when it comes to Afghanistan policy?
I think probably largely we are going to be on the same page. I mean, now that we're focused very firmly on the humanitarian question, this is something that simply has to be dealt with. And I think others like China and Russia will be focused on that as well. Now, there may be some differences there. Clearly, there will be differences when it comes to the prominence of the counterterrorism concern when it comes to dealing with the Taliban. But I think in general, both in terms of the aims and in terms of the anxieties, Europe and the United States are essentially sharing the same agenda.
Ian Lesser there from the German Marshall Fund. Thank you very much.
Good to be with you.